You have that imposter syndrome sometimes. You go through these situations where you feel like you may be unqualified, and it's a mental inner struggle. But I think that's normal. That's us being stressed. And I think everybody who's been put into a higher position will go through that. Or for the most part, you will feel
Yeah.
inadequate. You will feel less than. And so for me, that was just ammunition to do better. That was just, how can I compete against myself? And how can I do better? And that's the biggest thing. What can I do today that I could do better than yesterday?
What is going on, L&M family? Back again. And this time I'm getting to interview somebody I connected with through the socials. We have a very similar heart and kind of similar path, except he's more accomplished and more professional than I am. He began his career in 2011 as a fabricator, and he worked his way up through the millwright carpenters union. So already y'all know he's a craft worker, trades person by heart, which of course I'm going to gush on him a little more than normal. He's also been a traveling superintendent road warrior for about 5 years. And all you folks out there that have been on the road traveling to execute projects, you know that life. It's not the easiest, and it's pretty dang rewarding sometimes. But he didn't just stop there. He recently moved from managing training and constructability to director of field operations. So let me just summarize that for you. He started off as a fabricator, working with his hands in the field, got into apprenticeship, and now he's a director of field operations, which that path is available. It's what I love about construction. That pathway is available to so many people. His name is Mr. Gary Bork. He's an OG, real baller, and we're going to get to learn more about him. And so if this is your first time here, this is the Learnings and Missteps podcast, where you get to see amazing human beings just like you tell us how they are sharing their gifts and talents to leave this world better than they found it. I am Jesse, your selfish servant, and we are about to get to know Mr. Gary. Mr. Gary, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Jesse. It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be with you guys and looking forward to this. It's a really good day today, so let's get fired off here.
Okay, so I'm going to start with a simple question. What's constructability?
That's interesting because a lot of people kind of, they get sidetracked on that, right? You hear the term being thrown out a few times. You hear, constructability in different environments, but constructability in its true sense is just, how are we going to build this project, right? When we're able to sequentially put steps in place, zone things out in a way that brings clarity to your people, to where it makes it easier on them to build what you want to happen, that's constructability. So we're working with pre-construction, we're working with the estimating team, and we're breaking projects down so that we can present it to a client, or we can present it to our people so that they can be more efficient.
Gary, that's the best, for real, the best description and most thorough description I've ever heard, particularly because most of the time, the conversation around constructability kind of just lives in the estimating and presentation to the client perspective. Can we build it? What's it going to cost? What's it going to take to logistically and all that other stuff? Rarely is it ever, actually, I've experienced firsthand. People don't usually think, okay, we know how to bid it, but how the hell are we going to help the people do it?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Well, there was a gap, right? Hearing your story, there's a huge gap from the office to the field, right? And there's a lot of information that doesn't translate down into the field. So coming from the field, I recognize, hey, this is something that needs to be filled. This is something that's going to help us achieve success. And there's, like with estimating, there's a lot of things that get missed. There's a lot of things that they just don't quite know because they may be in the office. They don't have field experience. And so that's where we come in and we bring that clarity to the field.
Man, okay, I'm hoping you've never had this conversation because I've had it too many times. Well, I'd be reviewing, okay, they got the project set up. Hey, Jess, we're going for an interview. Look it over. I'm like, okay, let me see the quick pen, like the software that we use for our estimate. They're like, you don't need that. I said, yes, I do, because I need to know what I'm getting into. And of course, I would identify gaps. And again, it took me a long time to mature to the point where, you know what, they're human too, and they're estimating 3 or 4 projects a day, like give them some grace. But anyways, I would identify gaps, things that were overlooked, or maybe they put it in a different bucket and I just wanted clarity. And so I would bring the issues up, right? And what the team would tell is, Jess, if we got everything in the estimate, we wouldn't get the job. You ever been a part of those conversations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In a way too, it brings some sort of integrity too, because when there is miscommunication in the estimate, right, and it hits the field, and then you have those certain buckets where money is allotted to, and then you might have an estimator, or not an estimator, but you may have somebody in the field not properly identify where those monies are going. And so they'll tend to overload one to make one task look better. If they're running over on the estimate, they'll try to subtract that and put it into a different bucket. And it brings a little bit of integrity into the mix too.
Oh my God. Yeah. What I'm hearing is task codes where I'm going to charge my time and the material cost too. And that was one thing. It fell and fell. If you're one of these, just know if I find out you're going to be on the dead to me list, I cannot stand. And it was a thing that used to happen. And it happened with everybody, but kind of back to this integrity thing where it was like the money was put in the wrong bucket. Let's just say that. And we're charging time where we're supposed to be charging time to say plumbing underground, right? That's the task code. And we're coming up on 95% of that budget expended, and we still got 15% of the labor to do the work. Somebody in the office says, stop charging that code, start charging this code. And I'm like, why are we going to do that? Well, because you're running out of money. And I'm like, so what's the point of having task codes then? If we're just going to, I'm eating up, I'm not even working. Like, just give me one task code if that's what you're going to make me do. And I was eventually I got to a point in my career where I was a stickler. If you're going to make me charge a different code, even though I know it's not right, I am not going to do it. We're going to fight tooth and nail because I'm not going to do that. Because in my head, the value of having that kind of delineation in terms of the different task codes and whatever is to be able to measure our performance, learn from that, and get better. Am I just like a Disneyland fairy tale guy?
That's a very interesting point, because whenever you get to the end of the project and you're going over lessons learned or project closeout, how do you understand like where to change, where to grow, where to evolve into the next project that's very similar? And so that's where those buckets come into play. We did this the first time. There might have been some mistakes. How are we going to do better next time? And so that gets missed a lot. And I think that's a huge gap right now in the industry that we're all trying to, build out and kind of put together again.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like the big dog now, director of field operations. And so we kind of gives you a different perspective of the whole business and the value, the purpose behind the codes. But let's go back to when you were a fabricator. Did any of that matter to you?
I did not care about cost codes. I did not care about buckets. My main concern was production. How fast can I go? How can I beat the next guy? That was my mentality at the time, right? I wanted to grow. I wanted to, I was very young, 22 years old, and I wanted to make a name for myself. How could I get the most done and wreck everything in my way? That was my mentality earlier on. That was it, because you're bulldozing your way through. You don't understand the politics. You don't understand all the naysayers, and you don't really recognize the negative impact you're having. I had to learn the hard way. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
No, I love it. Same. Very same. Like, I just wanted to be the best damn apprentice around. When I got my license, I just wanted to be the best journeyman and just beat everybody in my circle. And then eventually, some people say I got promoted. It felt more like I got punished up the ladder, got more responsibilities and all the other things. So as a fabricator, did you decide back then, okay, I want to be a director of field operations. And in order to do that, I'm going to do this much time in the union. I'm going to do this much time traveling in the superintendent. Was it that cut and dry for you?
Not at all. Not at all. It was a journey, Jesse. I'm sure you have this picture, right, for your future and your career and your family, but I was so narrow-minded and And I had a completely different mindset than I have now. And I think that journey, you start to evolve and you start to view things in your life in different chapters with a different lens because of the experiences that you go through. That's the failures, that's the wins, that's the long hours away from home, that's making mistakes in the field, a lot of rework or what have you. I mean, it just keeps going on and on, but you don't really see that far ahead early on in your career. It's hard to see that far ahead and with construction, everything changes, right? Because with me, I started out in fabrication. One, because it gave me a job. I had a small family. I was newly married and I needed a way to make money. And so once I got into fabrication, I started to understand, wow, okay, these guys are welding. This is very interesting to me. I wanted to learn how to weld. And then I started to see how to put machinery together and how to build out different systems. And then you just start expanding your knowledge. And then I got to a point in fabrication where I wanted more for my family. And then that's where the union, right? And then with the union, it brought a lot of benefits that I currently didn't have. There was an increase in pay and a lot more opportunity. So I went that route. Now that is where I started to understand the pride in what I do. That's never I would start. I started to sit back and take ownership over every task and every decision that I was making because it had greater impact, not just on myself or my company, but on the local union. And I wanted to represent that well. And so my mindset started to shift at that point. And with that, I continued to grow. And I continued to grow through the union and did the union bid. And then we decided to make a change. We decided to make a change in our life. We sold everything. We were in California and we decided, hey, we didn't have any family here. We wanted to do something different. I was working 714s for 6 months straight every year for 6 years. I had a small family, 3 kids at that time. And I really started to see the demand it started putting on my responsibilities at home. And I had to make a change. Yeah. And so that's where I went into the next chapter of my life and started going on the road, which was a very interesting pathway for me, but it was fun. It was fun. I'll tell you that,
We're going to do the L&M family member shout out. And this one goes to Mr. Johnny Livingston, another recent victim of the time management for construction training. He left this review, 5 stars, by the way. He gave me 5 stars and I didn't bribe him. He said, the class was very open and it opened my eyes into taking care of myself. By taking care of myself, I can take better care of others. Yes, that is the whole point. Yeah, I agree. I want to be super hyper efficient and optimize and get a million things done. But that don't work. That is not sustainable if I'm not taking care of myself. So Johnny, I appreciate you leaving that comment. And folks out there, you already know I love attention. So the stars and the shares and the thumbs up and the reviews, all of the things, I love them. And when you leave a review or a comment, it gives me an opportunity to celebrate you in the future. So I want to learn a little bit about the pathway because I think similarly, there was some major learnings when I made the shift. Now, I didn't go to traveling superintendent. I went to traveling lean geek. But before I go into that, man, I'm curious now you're director of field operations. So you have enterprise responsibility. The decisions you make are not like back in the day when you were fabbing something up. If you had a weak weld, you grinded it out, fixed it. Like the fix to some of the decisions you're going to make is a little bigger than what they were back in the day. But on the same note, my assumption or what I'm curious about is as a fabricator and going through the union, at the time you were with the union, there were skills that you built at that time that directly apply to what you're doing now. Am I wrong?
Absolutely right. Yeah. And that kind of goes back to your initial question about constructability and being able to blend field experience with office experience, right? And that's another gap that we struggle as an industry in right now is having that field experience coming into the office to help estimating, to help strategic planning, to help where we're going as a company, right? Because you have a different viewpoint because you've been there. You've been in the dirt. You've been in the trenches. You understand what it actually takes to build this out. And with that, you can scale that as a company because you can see that long term. You can see what benefits, what hurdles, what things might not work that other people who may not have traveled that path may have come straight out of college into the office world that they're not able to see. And so that's what I'm able to help contribute in a way when I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard this phrase before, empathy for the work, right? And the people that have spent time, there's layers, right? But folks like us that came up assembling, doing construction, doing the assembly, the fabrication, the stuff, we have an empathy from the work because we know what the pain was, right? We know firsthand the impact good leadership, good systems, good processes. We know the impact that can have on an individual in just daily performance. Yes, and the individuals, not the ones that want to be CEO in 6 months. Anybody like me as an installer that I don't want nobody calling me. I don't want nobody knowing my name. Just give me my assignment so I can go kick ass. Good leadership, good systems, good processes help me excel. And I've been in situations where weak leadership, weak systems, horrible communication, it didn't matter how hard I worked, my performance sucked.
Yeah.
And so my point in that is by swimming in it, we develop an empathy for the work, which is, if we choose to do so, which is extremely valuable as we progress through the levels of management. But nobody tells you that. And also I want to, give a nod to our friends out there that entered the industry by way of, they got a degree, they got education, and then got into their, estimating or engineering or whatever it is. There's extreme value there. And
Absolutely.
Partner up, man, because I'm not saying you are not qualified or you're less than. I'm just saying there's some things that you don't know just because of the path you took. It's not a judgment. It's a fact. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. So, with that, going back to a little bit about what you said, you're absolutely right. When you come from the field, you're able to see good and bad leadership. You're able to understand on a company viewpoint how not to lead your people, because you see bad leadership and it happens, and you have to figure out how to get through that and how to achieve greatness through that. But you take those moments. I remember whenever in that fabrication shop, I noticed a foreman. I remember his name, and I still remember this guy to the day. And I always told myself, I'm never going to treat people how he treated me or these people. And so that stuck with me. It was something that was ingrained in me every step of the way. I always go back, and we have those leaders and we learn something from them. I'm always the person to say, no matter who they are, even if they make the bad decisions, I try to draw the good out of people. And so if I see something, I might approach it and say, hey, I appreciate what you said. I don't agree with what you said, but now I understand how not to treat people. Try to keep it the nice political way. But, that's how you grow businesses. Like you said, you take the estimators, you take people who went that pathway, and you're absolutely right. There's huge value in that. There's people that are in specific lanes and in the right seats on the bus for a reason. And that allows us to cohesively come together as a team, because when you have both mindsets, you're unmatched, right? You can be the tip of the sword, right? When you have that teamwork, and with that comes healthy conflict, but you get through that and you're able to be better as a team.
Oh man, so you triggered a thought. What are some skills that you had to learn in the last, let's say, the last 2 transitions you had in terms of your career? What are some skills that you had to develop that you had no idea where to go and figure out how to develop them?
Oh man, that's tough, because it seems when you go through different levels in your career path, it doesn't matter what it is, change hurts, change happens, and you have to learn how to just roll with the punches. But I was able to gather and put people around me as barriers, people above me, people that used to look up to me. I surrounded myself with people who've gone the path, who can direct me in a way to where I won't fall off the ship. And so I think the two skills I would say the most that I had to learn, one is how to communicate to people better. It's
Yes.
something as you work up the chains, you have to understand that you're working with different personalities. Now you're working with people in the field, whether it's in a craft level, in the manager of training position, you're trying to teach them a way of how to put the product together. And then when you're coming into the director of operation or director of field operations, now you're trying to teach people how to do that. How you're trying to teach people how to teach your people. If you can follow me, it gets complicated, but it's learning the systems, learning the processes, setting yourself up with leader standard work. That's a huge skill that I had to put into place. I started time blocking. I understood it doesn't matter if it was a to-do list. I'm putting it on my calendar. I'm going the day before and I'm blocking my time out. I have my first one in the morning is workout, bad name, right? I'm motivating myself to need a workout, whether it's respond to emails, whether it's text so-and-so, whether it's do this, whether it's do that, whether do expenses. I'm blocking everything out so I can put 100% of my focus in that. Because what I've started to recognize is you have all these different voices, you have all these different strings that are being pulled in your direction. You have to find a way to be efficient and to give everybody the appropriate, just everything. You got to give them your attention at that time. And so that was the biggest thing for me, is really trying to understand, how am I going to manage all this at one time? It's putting the right people in the right places, setting up my own leader standard work so that I could be successful.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And you nailed it. Like, it's complicated. So for the listener out there, it's a clear map, I'll say, but you don't know what it feels like till you walk the path. It's like time blocking 100%, but it's not that easy. Right. And I think I'm going to pick on this because I know how valuable it is. It's like going through and blocking out my calendar and saying, I'm going to do X and I'm going to do Y. I'm going to give this thing an hour, this thing 90 minutes, this thing 15. That's easy. Actually doing it is hard because, like you said, there's issues, there's problems, there's perceived emergencies, real emergencies, family life, like all of those things are pulling. And then there's me, because I'm a scatterbrain. I like to have fun and I want to play. It's that time to play. You got to finish and get your work done. And so, yeah, time blocking. But so first, building the habit to do that regularly, because I see this a lot in the time management workshops that I do. The younger cats, the younglings that still, they're strapping young men and women, and they're like, why y'all keep talking about calendar? Is it just a boomer thing? And I'm like, well, and I had to think of it like, wow, they don't use their calendar at all. And I'm like, okay, Jess, when you were 20, neither did you. I didn't have to. My foreman told me what I needed to do, and I did it. Like, I didn't have to about multiple projects, direct reports, like community involvement. I just went to work, put the stuff in I was supposed to put in, and then tried not to get arrested at night so I could go back to work the next day. That was my level of responsibility. But now, my goodness, if I don't use my calendar, I'm a mess and I underserve people. So I had to build that skill, and then the discipline to like, no, to your point earlier, is like, no, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to give it the appropriate focus. I'm going to give it the right level of intensity, because it may only be a 30-minute conversation.
Yeah.
But I got to give it everything I got so that it's meaningful and impactful. And then the next thing is going to have the same level of intensity so that I can execute and keep those balls rolling while fielding the damn curveballs and emergencies, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was a big driver in that is, in the field, you're so used to handling with people on a day-to-day basis. I say this, it's easy not to let people down because you're so accessible. You're there. You can meet them where they're at. But as you grow and as you go through different channels, you might get feedback. Oh, he doesn't talk to me anymore, right? Or, oh, he doesn't meet this anymore. He's not this or whatever. So you get these different things. And so when you start to understand that people are your greatest asset, and you have to establish lanes to keep that communication so they still feel valued, like you can still provide a lot of impact, right? And so Does it take work? Absolutely. Is it a learning progress? Absolutely. But when you're intentional, you're consistent, and you allow yourself a space to set up these processes so that you can achieve good things, it makes a world of difference. Absolutely.
100%. And there's 2 points I want to make that's really important, because I believe everybody has the capacity or potential to advance and be in leadership roles. That's not the same as everybody wants to do it, right? If you want to advance and get bigger titles and bigger dollars and more responsibility, you're going to have to get good at dealing with people, aligning people, assessing talent, managing, like performance management, writing people up, firing people. And like, they don't tell you that, right? I remember I want to be a foreman because all they do is eat tacos and go to meetings. And then I was a foreman, like, oh my God, there's so much, like there's massive amounts of responsibilities and a whole new skill set I needed to build. So like, folks, if you want to advance, be ready to learn and experience a lot of pain and friction, because it's not easy. The second point you made was about some bad leaders. And I think I heard you say something like, I learned what I didn't want to be. I learned, okay, I'm not going to be like that kind of leader. What's your advice for somebody coming up that thinks they want to take the next, or that's in a situation where the leadership is less than awesome? What kind of advice or insight would you give them, Gary?
That's an interesting question, right? Because no matter where you go in this industry, you're always going to find something. There's always something within a company. You want to be treated the best. You want the best for your family. You want to create a good environment. You want to be in a good environment. But the reality of the situation is it's not always like that, no matter where you go. And every company struggles with something, but as long as you are grounded, right? As long as you can find certain things within that company to learn and add to your tool belt, you'll be successful. When you come at it with a difference and you're not so critical, it's because some processes might have already been set up before that leader above you was in place. And so you have to see around certain things in certain situations. So when you come with the learning mindset and say, hey, look, this is a situation. I can learn from this, whether I'm learning how to do something good, I learn how to do something bad. You're still winning. At the end of the day, you're still advancing. You're still growing. And going back to a minute ago, what you said, that's what's so great about construction. There are people who want to advance. There are people who want to grow and do big things, and that's okay. But there's also a place for those who like to do really well in one thing. You want to be a welder for the rest of your life. You want to be a crane operator the rest of your life. Be the best that you can be forever. And that's okay. That's okay. There is a place for those people. There is a need for those people. Together as a construction industry, that's what makes us strong. Understanding that you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, man. 10-4. Oh, it reminds me of Kelly James, welder, by the way. We started a foreman training program, and he said, Jess, I don't want to do all this stupid freaking paperwork. I'm like, okay. I said, well, you don't have to do it, but foremen do. And he said, okay, well, if I'm not going to do it, will I get fired? And I said, hell no. Kelly, you're the best damn welder we got. We still need you, bro. He said, awesome. He says, okay, well, if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to get fired. Do I still need to be in this class? I said, no, sir, you don't. And it was interesting because I totally didn't expect that conversation, but just that quick, I'm like, oh, wow. I think we're doing a good thing by helping people understand this is like the minimum expectation. And if you can't commit to this, no problem. Go back to work, because this is what our expectation is. And also, I want to highlight for the listener, keep the learner's mindset, because there's always something to learn. And I'll add, most of the lessons that, like the really meaningful, deep lessons I've had, they always came in the worst situations. So if you're in a bad situation, start really looking for those lessons, because there's some gems, even though it stinks and it's less than amazing, there are some gems that you can carry with you through life and help other people going forward. Do you agree, my friend?
Absolutely. I mean, that's just life to a T right there. You know, you got to have that mental fortitude to just press through. I mean, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. You can either, sit down or get up. I mean, what you make of the situation it's what's going to determine the outcome, right? You have to have that learning mentality. We don't want to be a victim. We don't want to have that mentality. We want to be overcomers, no matter what we think. So
Yeah, man.
absolutely.
10-4. All right. So then you jumped into the traveling superintendent world. What was that like? Time out. Because if you're anything like most leaders I talk to, your schedule is ultra packed. But somehow the most important things get neglected. And that most important thing is you. You're juggling projects, people, deadlines, and meetings. And somewhere in there, your own priorities get pushed aside. They get on the someday list. That's exactly why I created the Self-First framework. It's a simple system designed to help leaders create space in their schedule to focus on the most important and impactful things and execute consistently without burning out. I put together a free live training where I break down how the framework works and how you can start applying it like right now. So if you're curious, there's a link in the show notes where you can check it out. All right, let's get back to the episode.
So traveling superintendent was fun. I'll be honest. I mean, that was probably my favorite part of my whole career so far. And the reason why I say that is because when you're out there in the field, well, I'll take a step back. I took my wife and my 3 kids. I sold my house, bought a 5th wheel, took my wife and 3 kids, and thought that it would be the best thing to do to travel the country. You hear about traveling construction workers, and then you actually do it. And you start to meet people from all over the country. You start to see different things that you may have or never had the opportunity to see. We got to go to DC. We got to go to Grand Tetons, do some work up in Idaho. You're working in New Mexico, Florida. And so you're able to give your kids an experience that not a lot of people get to do, and so we were very grateful that our kids got to experience that. So it was a really good time because for me, I saw a lot more camaraderie in the field because you start to understand you're spending more time with your coworkers than your own family at times. Or when, as a superintendent, you're leading men and women who are out there without their families, right? And so you represent a family to them. And so that kind of plays in the type of environment that you're giving to your people as well, right? You want to create good bathrooms, right? You want to create a good lunch space. You want to create a clean site for your people. You want them to have clear expectations. But that was the best thing for me as a superintendent, just the experience, whether it's at a camper at the end of the day, after a long, hard day by campfire, or coming together with people you may have never known before on a specific project and building a team to make something come to fruition. So there's a lot of different things as a traveling superintendent that you get to experience that you may not have that as a local worker.
Yeah. Well, one, Gary, I'm going to give you some props because I've never been a traveling superintendent, but I've worked on projects where the superintendent was traveling. For a period of time in my career, we had a lot of federal work. There's been a lot of money here in San Antonio on the bases, and most of those superintendents were traveling superintendents, and they didn't give a shit. Like, they were in and out. They treated us like garbage. And I kind of understand it, right? Like, they don't need to invest in the relationship because they're leaving town at the end of the project. And they treated us like that. And so I need to give you props because you said, and it's true, you represent a family to all the people that are traveling to these projects. And we all know it. It's in the construction industry. We spend way more time with the people that work on the job site, and it's not synonymous to construction, but that's my industry, right? Than we do with our own families and the things that we love and care about. And so where did that awareness come from, Gary, to say, wait a minute, I'm the best representation of a family for these men and women. I need to do it right. Where did that come from?
And that's part of my journey. So growing up, I didn't have the best representation as a family growing up. And so going into fabrication, going into the union, going into traveling superintendent type work, I recognized what I valued. And I started to understand that I wasn't the only one that went through that. You're going to have the dickheads, right? You're going to have the guys who are mean. You're going to have the guys who are going to cuss you out, tear you down for not doing anything right. But I had already went through something in my life and made bad decisions that allowed me to have respect for people. So I naturally understood that. And so I felt like it was a disservice if I wasn't giving my people that part of me and giving the construction industry, because you're right. As a traveling worker, these people are coming and going. They may not be on your project for long. They might not come on full term as an employee, but the impact that you made is going to translate for the rest of their life next to the next company. So what type of legacy you want to leave? You can lower your standards, right? You can lower yourself and have that no give a shit attitude, or you can step up, set the expectation, serve with excellence, and try to change the industry. And that's the mentality I had along the way.
And I love it. And I'm going to read between the lines, a similar path as me. There's I swear, I did some training recently, and there were a couple of guys in the room. They're superintendents now. They met me when they first entered the industry as apprentices. And I was the shithead foreman superintendent. And my style and approach to managing work and leading teams was, we'll just say, less than soft. And they're listening to me talk about, respecting people and investing in the individual and appreciating the men and women doing the work. And they're like, who the hell are you? That's not the guy I remember. But my shift happened, it took a minute, but as a result of learning the hard way I was like straight up. I remember one day I was asking, like, man, I never get invited to lunch or like to hang out with the guys after work. My guys know the painters and the form workers and the like they know everybody on site. I don't know anybody. And I'm like, I asked one of the guys, I said, no, like, why doesn't you know everybody and you're getting your work done? So I'm not going to pick on you, but I'm here too. And I don't really know anybody. He's like, yeah, Jesse, because you're an ass. Like, you're right. You only talk to people if you need something from them. And if you don't, you just blow them off and treat them like crap. I'm like, oh. And I just thought if I push hard and firm and, all of that's the best way to get stuff from people. And I could get production, but it wasn't sustainable. As soon as I left, whatever. Then I shifted and I'm like, oh my God, I got friends now. People tell me hi, damn it. And it changed me entirely going forward, man. So I feel you on that. Now, when you went into the superintendent role, that's I would say a big giant jump in responsibility, but more importantly, there's this thing between our ears that sometimes brings doubt. So when you went from working with the millwright union, the carpenters union, to being a superintendent, was there any mental baggage that you had to wrestle with to lead that project, to be the superintendent?
Yeah, I think that's understandable with any position whenever you grow and you get elevated. I had worked my way up in the union and became a foreman. Our foremen then were like general foremans in the industry. So whenever I shifted to open shop and went into a superintendent role, there was a lot of curveballs, right? There was a lot of things that we didn't do that I had to adjust. And I think with that mental fortitude, like you have to be able to ask questions, right? When you don't know the answers, and you're going to make mistakes, you're going to do the wrong thing. You're going to get yelled at by your boss, but you have to be able to weather that. You have to let that just fall off the back. If you're committed, you have to ask questions. You have to find people like-minded and put pieces around you so that you can be successful. But absolutely, you have that imposter syndrome sometimes. You go through these situations where you feel like you may be unqualified, and it's a mental inner struggle. But I think that's normal. That's us being stressed. And I think everybody who's been put into a higher position will go through that. Or for the most part, you will feel inadequate. You will feel less than. And so for me, that was just ammunition to do better. That was just, how can I compete against myself? And how can I do better? And that's the biggest thing. What can I do today that I could do better than yesterday? And I just always carried that. Yeah, it's a struggle. It's normal. It's something that I don't want to keep repeating myself, but yeah, it's something internally that you have to go through, but you have to have people around you to help you get through that.
Oh, man, I agree. And for folks out there, if you're feeling inadequate and having the second guessing and the imposter syndrome, any and all of the above, just know that's evidence that you're human.
That's right.
Like,
Absolutely.
It's part of the growth. It's just part of the damn territory. And I love that you're vulnerable, willing to share that, because too many people, and I'm one of them, right? I denied it and I stuffed it and really I diluted it. This was back before I got sober. Like the only way I could deal with it or knew how to deal with it was drinking. And it was not a good situation for me, right? When I finally came to terms with, man, don't nobody know everything. We're all figuring it out and just trying to get by today. It was a big deal.
Yeah. And you swallow that, with the same thing with drinking. You deal with certain things how you deal with certain things. Do they make them right? No, they don't. But nobody expects the best, like that you are going to hit the ground running. There's going to be potholes. There's going to be road bumps, and that you're going to have to go through. Just know the people above you who are elevating you should recognize that or are recognizing that. And so you don't have to keep it in. I mean, I can see that, right? I've gone through that at certain times. You want to make a good impression. You want to do a good job. You want to make them think you're capable. But at the end of the day, I believe you're doing one of two things. One, you're challenging yourself, but you're also hindering yourself from growth. So ask for help, right? Ask your leaders who put you in place. What can I do to grow? What am I missing? What are the processes? How do I set up a project? How do I put this in? How do I, figure out my cost codes or whatever? How do I, how am I going to generate a 3-week look ahead? Something as simple as that. What documentation do you guys use? Do I need to do a toolbox talk? When do I do that? There's a lot of different things that you have to start understanding and asking questions. So when shit hits the fan, you're doing your job, because there's going to be a moment where you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And it's because you didn't ask the question or they didn't properly tell you and inform you what you should be doing. And I think that's how you and I connected with Death Builder, is saying, hey, we need something to teach these trades. We need leadership type formats, 3-week look aheads. What can we do to work through our people? Because we weren't shown the way. We had to cowboy our way. We had to figure out ways to make expectations meet. And luckily to you, and shout out to you and what you're doing, you saw that gap, right? And you filled that gap and you made it in a way that it was digestible. It was easy. And it could have immediate impact. And I saw that in my own life in a few of my projects. But that just brings it full circle, right? There's going to be struggle when you grow, and that's okay. Admit that, and know that there's people out there trying to make a change like Jesse, right? Who are putting things in place so that we can all grow as a construction industry. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Oh, I love it. So there's two things that you said that I want to make sure people hear, and because it was the hardest phrase I had to learn. One was, I need help. I could not, it took me 5 years to learn how to say that. Like I would just stay up all night, banging my head against the wall, instead of saying, I need help. The other is, I don't know.
That's true.
It's like really those 6 words, I need help and I don't know, completely transform my mental wellness and the trajectory of my career. The same point you made earlier was, you said you compete against yourself.
That's right.
And again, that shift, when I finally had that awakening, I'm hitting it again because I know that there's listeners out there that are hard charging, ambitious, hardworking, very, very competitive. I was the same, and I was competing against everybody. And man, the amount of friction it took for me to advance and grow and learn was tremendous. When I shifted and started competing against me and finding people to collaborate with, the game changed, man. The game changed. So the best person to be competing against is the person you were yesterday. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a motto I live by every day. And what I tell my guys right now is, you can't change anybody else around you. You can't change what they're going to do, the decisions that they're going to make, but you can change yourself. You can control your actions, how you represent the company, how you represent yourself. And absolutely, how can I get better?
Yeah. Oh, amazing. All right, man. So we talked about the early years. We talked about the road warrior years. And then you went into training. What the hell?
Yeah, it was a combination of a few things, Jesse, there. And I started to recognize like my son needed a lot of help, and being on the road just wasn't the best thing for us. And there was also a gap in where I work right now at Hemi Systems that, hey, we need a training department. We need to help our people. The construction industry is growing. There's this, that, and the other. And it just made like a perfect fit for me to come in because of the field experience that I had. And so that's where I got plugged in and segued into trying to develop some training for our workforce. But absolutely.
Okay. I love this. Similar, right? I was in training for a while now. It's kind of what my business is built around. How did you go about outlining what training, where to start? What would you have told yourself back when you started, when you made the transition into training? What did you learn along the way that you would go back and say, hey, Gary, if you're going to do this, start here?
I mean, honestly, it was a very hard path the first couple months, right? Because going from the field mindset, you don't know anything about what it takes to set up a training department, what it's going to take to reach your people. And so I'm spending the first 90 days trying to research what works, what's not working, what are other people doing, and trying to source that out and find something that's really going to help us grow as a company. And so I started to understand, okay, let me take a step back. I need to assess the gaps in our workforce. Where are we failing the most? And so I just started hitting every project we had. I went all over the country and I started to assess every craft and every discipline, every person, all the way up from apprentice up to superintendent. And with that data, I was able to sit back and say, okay, maybe we need help in layout. Maybe we need help in rigging. Maybe we need help in this. Maybe we're failing in communication, right? And so I could, once I took all that in, I was able to put training in place to help meet that, right? So that was my first approach.
Dude, applause again, because I've been in situations and come into help situations where they didn't do the leader work. And what you just described is doing the leader work of going out to the workforce where they're at and assess, see firsthand, what are the gaps? What are the ones that are costing us the most money? Which ones are going to give us the most juice for the squeeze? And then coming up with the plan, where too many people do it the other way around. I chat GPT'd it, or, this is what I've done before. These are the best practices. We've got curriculum design and all these other things that are important. But if that's the first step without actually understanding the current condition, whatever is designed kind of misses the mark and becomes this kind of, okay, I got to go to this training. My assumption is because of the research that you did, when you started delivering the training, your workforce was like, thank goodness. Where has this been all my life? Is that kind of close to what you experienced?
Absolutely. I mean, we had really good feedback. Everybody understood that there was something needed. There was something missing. And it wasn't just with us. It's with the construction industry in a whole, right? There's not a lot of resources. There's a lot of good resources, but there's still a big push to bring that training to the workforce. And there's so much speed to market right now. There's so much construction going on right now, whether it's data centers, whether it's pulp and paper, whether it's, any type of manufacturing right now, with everything going on, with things being brought back into the States, that there's not enough people in the workforce to man these projects up. And so we're gathering people. We're going to different places and we're just hiring Jack and Sally on the side of the road or whatever as an industry. And we end up getting in trouble by OSHA incidents or, equipment failure, people running into things and making mistakes. And it's costing the industry a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And so we recognize that. And so we said, hey, we're going to get ahead of this. We're going to try to make a good effort, be intentional, and put these things in place. But our people, absolutely, they loved it. People are hungry. To your listeners out there, people want to learn. They want people who are going to pour into them. They want the skills. This generation that's coming up even right now, this young generation, they want to learn and retain this information, but who's going to do it? Who's going to take on the mantle and step up in training? Right? That's what I'm saying. Who's going to take this baton and run? And so we're doing that. We did that. And we're in our lane and doing everything that we can to help advance the industry right now. And we're just trying to meet people where they're at. So they love it.
I love it. All right. So I'm going to ask a nosy, selfish question, Gary. Do you mind?
Yep. Go for it.
Okay. So you and I first connected around the planning toolbox. Was that helpful, and where is it at now?
So with that, what we did is we broke that down. I was on a project and it got accelerated, right? And I needed something simple, fast to give to my team that would bring clarity, and to a team that may not have had a lot of experience with planning. And so I needed something quick. And I saw what you were doing, and I was able to use that in a way to efficiently break down the project, right? And also get them involved in a way that wasn't so complex like a P6, schedule or anything like that. It was real, it was tangible, and it was something that could be put in place right now. It could make change now. And we accelerated that schedule. We made our margins. We did a tremendous job. We used that thing on that project, and we still use it on our projects to this day. So right now we teach fundamentals of crew leadership, right? Through NCCER. And there's a portion in that where you're talking about 3-week look aheads, and you're teaching your leaders how to do that. And so we've kind of meshed the two and kind of tailored our own with their content in a way to promote that this is how Hemi Systems does this, right? Or this is how we build out a weekly look ahead or whatever. So it's really practical, right? And it helps us in a really good way. So I love it, man. It's phenomenal.
Dude, that makes me so happy. Just that it helped, right? One, that it helped you, cause that's the goal. I want to help somebody solve a problem in a simple way. And the fact that y'all took it further and, massaged it and customized it to fit your business and further help your workforce. That's my dream, man. So thank you for giving me the update, because that is the ultimate. Now, I want to make a point, and I know you agree, but for the listener out there that's not getting it, we don't have enough people to do the work we're doing. There's a bunch of people leaving. We got a whole hell of a lot of work. We have a suicide epidemic, mental wellness, substance abuse stuff. We got a lot against us in our industry. That being said, because of that, the decision makers out there that are actually investing in their people, providing them the training, the growth experiences, etc., the people that make their people feel appreciated are going to win the talent game. 100%, no doubt. I mean, I'm feeling it. I'm hell right now, going like, shit, man, maybe I need an application so I can come be your helper or something. Because of shit now and the investment y'all are making in your people. And nobody's going to get away with competitive salary and benefits anymore, because everybody's giving that. It comes down to the investment you make in your damn people. So start investing in your people. What did I miss, Gary?
Nothing. I mean, that's absolutely right. I mean, right now, I did a paper a couple months ago, 42.5% of the industry is going to be retired in 10 years. And who's going to train the next generation? I mean, it's ridiculous. There's going to be a significant gap, and we're going to feel it. We may not be feeling it to the full extent right now, but I can tell you it's gaining on us, right? And we have to find people who are passionate about that and companies to put things in place to help bolster that and create a bridge and a pathways for people to grow. People want clarity. People want vision. People want tools, and let's give it to them. This is the booming industry right now, construction. I can tell you that.
Man, cool. You're getting me fired up, brother. I applaud you for taking on the training and doing what you did, because that's a very strange world, but it's a super impactful position. So props to you, man. Now, director of field operations. Is it as easy as you thought it was going to be?
No, it's not at all. It's fun because it's challenging to me, and it gives you a different perspective into the business. It gives you a different perspective into your people and where they're going. I'm new to this. It's something that I've only been doing for, I would say, 2.5 months now, and I'm learning each and every day. Right. So I'm right in the thick of it. I'm learning as I'm going. I'm taking heed to instruction. I'm in that process, right? I'm going through the potholes. I'm going through the bumps. I'm learning, but at the same time, I'm leading. I'm helping people. I'm maintaining that training mindset. Like right now, I'm out on a project for a couple months and I'm training the field supervision so that they can succeed. But now it's, instead of going one at a time or a team of superintendents, now you're trying to develop a project, right? And you're trying to put that together for them so that it's the same thing as a general superintendent. The name's the same, it's synonymous. So you're making sure all their processes are intact, everything from project setup to project closure. Are those processes set up? Are those tracked right now? And so it's just a different shift, but with the same mentality as people. And it's been phenomenal. It's been great. I love it.
Man, I'm going to say they picked the right guy for the job. I get to work with directors of operations and general superintendents. I'm like, oh, okay. But there's a bunch that I'm like, yeah, like Gary's got it going on. So 2 things I want to state. Folks, if you're out there and you have that level of responsibility and you're looking for some insight from somebody that I give the 2 thumbs up, 5 stars on, hit Gary up. I'll make sure I leave your profile link for LinkedIn in the comments, because I'm assuming that you would be not opposed to sharing your insight with folks that are in a similar situation.
Absolutely.
Now, secondly, if somebody was looking like, you know what, this Gary dude, I want to go work with them. How do we make that happen?
Well, it can be on my LinkedIn page, or you can go to hemisystems.com. That's where I work right now. We're always trying to attract top talent and younger generation that want to learn. We're doing a lot of good things here at Hemi Systems. And we have the website. We have an employment place right there. We can go click on. I'll say something else that we got coming out. We have a mobile training trailer that we're going to be launching very soon. And so if you see that thing riding down the highway with the QR code, that's a way to look at what we do. That's a way to apply. Just a little segue into that right now, a little promo. But yeah, go to hemisystems.com. You can apply for what we're doing. We're working in a lot of verticals right now, whether you want to get into ironworking, millwright work, pipe fitting, rigging, like we do it all, fabrication. There's a lot of different facets to construction that we touch. So you'll learn a lot more about who we are and what we do there. But if you want to reach out to me directly in LinkedIn, I'm always there also to serve you.
10. Oh, dude, well done. Well done, brother. We're going to have to tell the marketing department, like, look, this is how you do it. You did good, bro. And for, I'm goofy and silly, but I'm still haven't figured it out, but I have this weird idea of what can I do to highlight the decision makers like you, so that people that are working in like less than awesome situations can find a company, a leader that can help them thrive and grow. Like I'm like a directory of some sort, because I know for a fact, and I'm sure you've seen this, every company's website says really fancy, flowery shit. But when you get there, it ain't like the website said. And I'm here to say that working with people like you, knowing that you're there at Hemi Systems, like that to me is an indicator that there's at least a strand of it, probably more, given the level of responsibility you have now, and that your leadership said, hey, Gary, we need you to do this. Those to me are all indicators of that's a damn good place to work. So, somehow, some way, maybe eventually I'll figure out how to do that so that people have the amazing experience that construction can be. Because I know there's a bunch out there that are in a miserable situation, and we got to fix that. We just got to fix that.
That's right. We do.
So this question, before we get into the Grand Slam home run question, What did I forget to ask you, Gary?
Man, I think you hit everything on the mark, Jesse. I think you did a really good job. This has been phenomenal, session with you. I think we had a really good conversation, man. We got into some really good stuff. We talked about some hard times, how to approach different situations, got a little vulnerable a little bit, talked about, hey, ask for help. It's okay to take a step back. You don't have all the answers. Talked about different pathways to constructions for everybody. You don't have to be wanting to climb that ladder. You can be okay with where you're at and be really good at that. There's a place for everybody. So I think, and Jesse, I think we covered a lot of different topics here. So
fantastic, man. Good. All right. So then I'm excited to hear your answer to this question because of your path, man. You started off as a fabricator. You bounced around into, I would say, dramatically different roles and responsibilities. And like the evolution of your thinking and your focus on leaving the construction industry better than you found it gives me some anticipation. So here's the question. What is the promise you are intended to be?
The promise that I am intended to be long-term, the legacy that I want to leave for my kids and for the industry is, like you just said, leave the industry better than you found it. What are we going to do to shape the world? What are we going to do and put into place to change our environment, to help people, to serve people? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Serving people. How can we help them grow? And you'll always fall asleep at night. You'll have a good night's rest most nights if you have that mindset, knowing that you're going to, when you pursue people, when you call out the good in people, right? And you capitalize on that, make them feel appreciated, recognize them, right? You're doing your job and you have nothing to worry about. I would say that my promise is to leave the industry better than I found it and to continue to grow people.
Dude, gangsta. I knew it. I love it, man. Did you have fun, Gary?
It was fun, man. It was good. Interesting. It was fun though. I thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was an honor, Jesse. Always an honor when you're on the horn. I wish you luck with what you're doing. You're doing phenomenal things. I don't want to sidetrack that. I know you're trying to highlight me, but Jesse, you are a leader in this industry. I'm sure you get told all the time, but you are just an achiever. You are an oak of righteousness, as I would say. You do tremendous things. And I would say that you are a shaker. You're a trailblazer. You're a pioneer. And I'm just honored to know you, brother.
Man, thank you. Before you go, I want to thank you for spending part of your day with me. Your time and attention mean a ton. And it's because of listeners like you that this podcast even exists. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the Learnings and Missteps podcast so you never miss an episode and you get extra credit if you share it with your friends. Also, if you want even more insights on leadership, personal growth, communication, all those fancy magical things, you can sign up for my newsletter on LinkedIn because I got a newsletter that goes out every single Monday. All the resources I share there are designed to help you put yourself first so that you can leave this world better than you found it. There's also a digital copy of my book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. And it's sitting there waiting for you on my website. All you got to do is do the click and do the download and you get the free PDF. And if you want even more bonus points, share that PDF with somebody you know or the family of somebody you know that is currently struggling with self-destructive behavior. That would be the ultimate gift for me. While you're there, do some exploring of the trainings, workshops, and services that are designed to enhance your performance at home and at work. Just click the link in the show notes to check it out. Thanks again for listening. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Before you go, I want to thank you for spending part of your day with me. Your time and attention mean a ton, and it's because of listeners like you that this podcast even exists. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the Learnings and Missteps podcast so you never miss an episode and you get extra credit if you share it with your friends. Also, if you want even more insights on leadership, personal growth, communication, all those fancy magical things, you can sign up for my newsletter on LinkedIn because I got a newsletter that goes out every single Monday.
All the resources I share there are designed to help you put yourself first so that you can leave this world better than you found it. There's also a digital copy of my book, Becoming the Promise You're Intended to Be. And it's sitting there waiting for you on my website. All you got to do is do the click and do the download, and you get the free PDF. And if you want even more bonus points, share that PDF with somebody you know or the family of somebody you know that is currently struggling with self-destructive behavior. That would be the ultimate gift for me. While you're there, do some exploring of the trainings, workshops, and services that are designed to enhance your performance at home and at work. Just click the link in the show notes to check it out. Thanks again for listening. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next episode. Peace!